So Kylie, my plans as we grow this business is to eventually have a space downtown.
Oh.
And have like a little podcast studio, a little recording spot, and like not be so focused on it being like, you know, full drums and everything, but just something that we could do with people, and then like some like workspace.
Oh.
That's when we make it really big. That's the plan. So that's how big we're training. Downtown. Downtown Cash Money.
Downtown Cash Money.
That's
going to be the name
Songbird.
of our Cash
That's
Money
what it's called,
Studios.
right?
Also, we're going to have a catchphrase that Kamo's working on where he's like, tweet, tweet. That's what he wants to do. So
Tweet, tweet.
I've committed.
We thought it'd be really funny if like that was how like, yo, what up, Project Songbird? Tweet, tweet.
Oh my gosh.
But
it's the new Twitter.
Yeah.
Better than Twitter. We're just going to take the Twitter logo and put headphones on it, and like we're good to go. We'll do what we steal.
Just steal their brand.
We do think that for whatever logo we have, to put headphones on the bird.
Yeah, like if it was like a cool looking little bird with like headphones on.
That's really
like
cute.
one that's just like all like a solid color kind of logo.
What kind of bird are you going to do?
Cute little bird.
A cute little bird.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because we want it to be not too feminine, but it doesn't have to be like masculine either.
Yeah.
You know, gender neutral stuff's hard.
Yeah. Birds, I feel like they're gender neutral. You know?
Birds have genders, Kylie.
Yeah, but like in general, like liking birds is gender neutral.
Yeah,
like how is a bird feminine? You know, like
I wouldn't say it's a masculine thing.
The male birds are the ones with all the colors and pretty things.
Wow.
The females
like,
are the ones like in brown.
Say you go on a date with someone and you're like, what do you like to do for fun? Like, I'm an avid bird watcher.
I'm down for that.
But like that
I'm for it.
Like you'd be like, that's a masculine quality.
I would be like, wow, you have such depth.
Well, what if he's
like niche things? That means you actually like take
but then
time to be intentional in your life.
I actually brought some binoculars if you don't mind. Like,
I'm like,
we could just
let's
walk
go.
around.
I honestly, personally, this is just me. I love when someone has a thing like that.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm for it. Let's go bird watching.
If you go on a date with Kylie Odetta, this is good to know. Future guys out there.
Bird watchers.
Kylie, like I think your bio should just be like, just be into something really nerdy. Yes. I don't care what it is. Just one thing.
Really, it's simple. Be passionate.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
That's because I just get all passionate about things that I like. And, you know?
Not passionate about murder or anything.
Yeah,
you know?
don't be passionate about, you know, weird things.
Yeah. Be passionate about good things. Kylie, we're so glad to have you on.
So glad to be here.
Yeah, this is actually the second podcast we've ever done together.
Yeah.
You have a podcast.
I do.
Today
will be awesome.
Today will be awesome. I was going to say today is awesome, but today will be awesome.
True.
So we had a podcast for it. That's super fun.
That was really fun.
And
you were the first person I interviewed on my podcast. Yeah.
That's true.
You were.
Good job.
Go team.
Go team. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Kylie, songwriter.
Yes.
You are doing pretty well now.
Sure.
I'm going to say you're doing well. 55,000 monthly listeners, millions of streams.
Yeah.
This is like a large part, if not of most of your income now. So you're kind of living the dream.
Yes.
That I think a lot of people have. Do you feel like that?
I do feel like I'm living the dream. Yeah. I feel like so many dreams that I had when I was a kid have been fulfilled. And in the last few years, it's been like, okay, God, what are the new dreams that you have for me? So yeah, I feel very thankful.
Yeah. What is your next dream?
Ooh, well, this is we could go down a whole deep dive. But yeah, so like I said, I had a lot of dreams growing up to like do music full time, you know, to record music, to play shows. And I literally consistently do all of those things. So in the last few years, I was asking God, okay, am I still supposed to do those things? Am I supposed to do something new? Is it supposed to look different than it did a few years ago? And I kind of threw my hand in a lot of different things like podcasts, different things, just different creative elements.
Yeah.
And I feel like consistently God just kept drawing me back to music and that like it is still shows, but more so fully leaning into like, I've always, you know, I'm a Christian and I'm an artist, but I never really like prescribed my music as Christian music.
Yeah.
I just released indie pop music or, you know, back in the day did country music when I was a little girl and, you know, alternative, all kinds of crazy things. But in the last few years, as he was like, okay, what are those new dreams? Kind of leaning more fully into the indie Christian music space has been something, and just more holistically, like doing all of that with worship leading opportunities and writing songs about God, as well as still love songs and heartbreak songs. So the new dream, I'd say, is to continue to do what I do, but just more fully even leaning into who God has made me to be, being open and vocal about that, and continuing to like tour and release music. I would love to be like opening for other artists, you know, and I've gotten to do a little bit of that in this last year and previous in my life, but just doing more of that to then headline like my own shows and stuff, which again, I do that too, but just on different scales. Wherever God wants to take me, I'm down. So just continue pursuing it full force.
Yeah. Something that I think is really fun about your music too is you're at this point now where it's like paying the bills, but also it still is like what you really love. Like I feel like you're writing, you write about, I joke all the time, like your mom, your relationship with her, you're writing about like heartbreak. You're writing about things that you care about. Like I never get the impression that you're sitting around being like, I wonder what the people want, and like writing for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's not like, you don't start there like when you're building a career. So walk us through like all the things you did and then how you kind of got to this place where you can just write about what you want and you have enough of a following that like it works.
Yeah. Okay, so the journey from day one.
From day one.
Well, we go all the way back to 8-year-old Kylie. That's when I wrote my first song ever. I was playing hopscotch with my brother and literally just had a song stuck in my head, didn't recognize it from anywhere. I was like, all right, God, I'm just going to go inside, write this down, go back to playing. And truly, it was like God just like dropped that on me. And from that day on, like the floodgates opened. I started writing songs every day. Like I kept a journal with me, kept a tape recorder in the bathroom in case I had an idea while I was in the shower before iPhones and voice memos. And so, really started writing when I was 8, started playing shows when I was 11. I performed in a school talent show and I came off the stage. I had performed an original song. And my mom was like waiting backstage for me. Speaking of my mom, she is my best friend. Love her. And I come off stage and she's like, how was it? Because I had terrible stage fright. Like I was a very nervous kid when it came to performing. People now would be like, what? Oh my gosh, you seem so confident up there. And it's because now I am and I love it. The stage is honestly one of the places I feel most comfortable. But back then I was like shaking in my boots, absolutely terrified. Came off stage, my mom was like, how was it? Like, are you okay? Like, and I was like, I love it. I want to be a singer. Like, I want to do this forever. She was like, oh, okay, cool. And so I had very supportive parents. They are both creative in their own ways. My dad's a graphic designer. My mom used to sing. She's in marketing. Like, you know, they're both just brilliant people, supportive people. And they were like, cool, well, how do we do that? How do you be a singer? Like, you know? And literally started like driving me around to play open mic nights in town, little coffee shop gigs. Like they were just for it, gung-ho. So for my birthday, I had asked like, I want to record a song. And my dad had a friend who was in the local music scene and he had a setup in his attic. And so my dad was like, hey, dude, like my daughter wants to sing. Like, could you record a song with her? And so that was my first, you know, one of my first recording studio experiences. Recorded a 6-song EP, original songs when I was 11.
For your birthday.
For my birthday.
And this still exists.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Well, it's not out there on like streaming services, but there's a physical CD somewhere floating around in the world, you know?
That could be really cool, like in 10 years to release.
Yeah, so it was called Lost in My Future. I was a very deep thinking kid and very deep. People heard the songs, they were like, is she okay? I, as an 11-year-old, I just was thinking about like what's fun to me, like pizza, sports, like something. Yeah, so did that. And that CD, so Edwin McCain is like a Greenville native. He's a singer, songwriter.
Albie.
Albie.
Yeah.
Albie. Love that song. And so he used to have a studio called OMG Studios that was downtown Greenville. And they had a producer that they worked with. They heard that CD that I made, a little 11-year-old local girl, you know?
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, like, we think this person has potential. And so they brought me in. We did 3 songs with them.
Yeah.
They like sent me to Nashville. That was my first time going to Nashville to record and set me up with a manager and everything. So I'm like 13 years old, recording my first music video, like doing the whole Nashville thing. They did encourage me to go in like a country pop direction. And so I had like curly hair. I was doing the whole Taylor Swift thing, but it was before she actually released, what's her song called? Love Story, I think is the name of it. So I had a song, and this is so 13-year-old, called Romeo Superhero. And that was what I shot my very first music video to. Yeah. Dude, great song.
Yeah.
It is still on YouTube. So if you go search Kylie Hinsey, oh no, my secret identity.
Yeah.
And Romeo Superhero, you'll find it.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so I had written that song, we had recorded it, and then like 2 weeks before it came out, she released Love Story.
Oh, man.
So then my song came out, and everyone was like, "You're just trying to be like Taylor Swift." And I was like, "No, like I didn't even know that song." So then I was like, "I do not want to do country music. Like I do not want to, it wasn't even really my passion anyways, but I was just being guided at the time in that direction." So I was like, "Okay, country music is not for me. Like I'm not trying to be Taylor Swift. I want to be my own person." So then I, swung to like pop.
Yep.
And I did a song called Bad Addiction. And I also did a music video for that. And that came about because at the time I was going to like lots of music conferences. So there was this conference called Driven Music Conference. They had it down in Florida. They had one in Atlanta. And it's kind of like was one of those big like networking events where like you can meet producers, bandmates, label executives, managers, whatever. Because after doing the 3-song EP, like it didn't end up working out with that management. I was like, I don't think this is the right thing for me. So wanted to go and kind of build connections myself. And so me and my mom go down to Florida, and met a producer that was working with a studio down in Florida that similarly were like, "Hey, like we just really believe in you and think you have something going on here. Like you can come down if you'll like, make the drive, like we'll let you record with us for free."
Wow.
And so really was just like blessed with these opportunities and got connected with a producer, Matt LaPlante, that I ended up working with for like 10 plus years.
Wow.
And we kind of explored all kinds of genres together. But so we went the pop direction. I was like, cool, I just want to make great, like fun music. Like I just want to explore and figure out who I am. And so I did a song called Bad Addiction, did a music video for that on a rooftop of Richardson Street and Garage.
Okay.
Richardson Street Garage, downtown Greenville. So again, if you ever go find that online, all this is to say it is truly a journey of dabbling in all the things. So music video 14, everybody in middle school thought I was weird. And then in high school, they thought I was cool. And then I was like, I feel like I'm such an outsider, but I love music. So I'm going to keep doing it,
Yeah.
Anyways, realize, okay, maybe this pop direction isn't my vibe. Still, again, you're just young trying to figure out your sound, find yourself. But I did at that time when I was 15, have a lot of support from the local community, like being that I was like born and raised in Greenville and I was playing shows and I was releasing music and it was like, whoa, like who is this like young girl doing all these things? And so like B93.7 is one of the radio stations here and they would like let me open up for artists that came through town.
Awesome.
So like I got to open up for Austin Mahone, which was like a pop guy at the time, for Matt Carney. And then there used to be a festival in town called Freedom Weekend Aloft, which was like this big music festival that they had out in Simpsonville. And Colby Calais and Gavin DeGraw came through.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this wasn't a connection through the radio, but this was just kind of the tenacity of me and my mom. Like we would just email people and be like, "Hey, can I do this?"
Yeah.
And they would most of the times be like, "No."
Yeah.
But then like at every 30 emails, you get like
one.
Come on. Like we think you're great. And so Colby Calais and Gavin DeGraw's people like saw my stuff and they're like, "Yeah, we'll have a local girl open the show for us.
Yeah.
Come on." And so like I got to hang out with their band and like meet them and like perform in front of literally 20,000 people at this festival before Colby Calais and Gavin DeGraw when I was 15. So just like wild things like that as I was younger and just being like tenacious and like wanting to pursue things, just asking people, hey, like, and I think having the hours of time that I was spending writing and performing and doing all those things, practicing my craft and being like ready to step into those spaces. So got some really fun opportunities as a young kid, which was super fun. And then kept growing, kept exploring, kept writing, graduated high school when I was 16. And was like, okay, I want to tour. I want to play music. I'm not going to college.
Yeah.
My parents were like, okay, we've been like really supportive up to this point, and like we think we support you not going to college, but like, are you sure you don't want to go to college? And I was like, I'm not going to college, man. I'm going on the road.
Like, Mom and Dad, you guys believed in me. You gotta stick with your belief.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going on the road. Like, I want to play shows. I want to do this thing. And they're like, okay, like we believe in you. Like, let's do it. And so again, when I was 18, me and my mom packed up my car and we did my first like independent tour across the country, like played shows all the way out to Colorado and back for a month and a half.
Wow.
And the following year, or maybe it was about a year and a half later, I had always had a dream of like wanting to go to England, Ireland. And I was like, well, why don't I play shows over there? And so booked a 3-week tour over there independently playing shows. And like, again, all throughout this time, there's ups and downs of like bandmates coming and going, songs that I'm writing, genres I'm exploring. Like I went kind of a jazzy path, which felt like I did find a sweet spot in my voice at that time. I had started taking regular trips to Nashville back and forth to co-write with people. I was pursuing maybe getting a publishing deal, and then that just never panned out. But I did, when I was 17, sign with MusicBed, which is a sync licensing company. And that came about, again, just through being in Nashville, making connections, building relationships. And so I've been signed with them from that time on. And that is a part of like the income that I make through songwriting specifically. So I write, like everything I write for myself as an artist and release goes to them. And then I also used to write stuff like specifically for sync, which is like, you know, TV and film and stuff like that.
Instrumental music, you know, something you kind of like, but it's not like your passion song.
And so
then people can go on MusicBed, purchase your music.
Yes. Use it in a video, use it in a commercial, whatever. So that was like, that kind of started building up. I was like, okay, now that I am graduated from high school, still living with my parents, how am I going to, you know, really make money with this thing? And so what I realized honestly just from, again, like my dad modeling, like he owned his own business, still owns his own business, and how like as a creative, you kind of do have to have multiple sources of income. And so I was like, all right, how can I use like all the different skills I do have to still be creative, but make money so that I can like pay for recordings and pay for studio time and all these things. And so I did random like little odd jobs too. I mean, I worked at like a kickboxing place one time. I worked at my dad's business for like as a receptionist for 2 years. But primarily then I was just gigging. So I would like classify kind of like artistic shows versus like money making corporate shows, you know? So I was like doing a mix of those to make money, had the music licensing income coming in, and started to like actually be like, oh, like, okay, I think I can do this. But I kept playing shows, kept releasing music, kept making trips to Nashville back and forth, and just continued to like expand and build upon that. I would have local shows and like a benefit concert every year. And just was honestly having a blast and continuing to expand my career. Moved out when I was 22. So that's when I like got my own place and was able to like actually really, I mean, I was already like paying for all of my own, like I had been paying for all of my own music stuff for a long time. But then I was like, okay, I can cover all my music expenses by myself and I'm not in the red. How do I also now like pay rent and like pay bills and like do that? So got to the place just over years of like navigating and building my career to where I was like, okay, I can move out and I can like make money enough to like pay to rent somewhere. And that's exciting. And then like COVID hit and I was like, oh, what do I do now? But during that time, which I skipped one portion, which this is a long story, sorry. I skipped one time. I went to New York because I was burnt out from having done music since I was 11 till 21.
It's a long time.
I took a little break and did some audio production. Went to a school called Garnish Music Production. And in there, I realized like, oh, I could do voiceover work, which is another part of what I do, one of those different creative streams. And so during COVID, when I couldn't play shows, I did voiceover work. And so again, now I'm 26, 5 years or 4 years even after that. But all along the way, the reason I think I am where I am today is because of the grace of God and opportunities that He brought into my life, the support of my parents, and like just their belief in me from a young age that like, hey, you're going to have to work really hard, but like you can do this. That was crucial. And then also just like the hours and hours spent like playing, writing, practicing, emailing people, scheduling. Like there's so much back end work that like people see the show and they see the song, but there's like hundreds of hours of like you on your computer, like researching, or you like in your bedroom playing guitar and playing piano and trying to get better. And so just all of that combined, like the hard work, you know, and then the grace of God and opportunities like aligning has allowed me to be here. Wow, that was a long answer.
No, it's great though. I think people don't realize how much of a grind it can be and how like there's a season where you do have to try a lot of stuff. You know, like I've shared before, but like I was in a wedding band, I was teaching music lessons, started like doing recording, writing music for TV and film. It was like anything I could think of that was like kind of related to what I wanted to do, but made money. It's like, I'll do this for a season. And then, you know, as your like favorite things make more money, you know, that's when you kind of pull back. And I'm sure like that's kind of what voiceovers were for you. It's like, hey, this is cool. I get to like use a microphone and like practice like the art and creativity of like delivering these things. But then the other day you're like, but when my music takes off, like I'm gonna do less voiceovers.
Yeah. And that's like the thing I think over the years, it can be easy to be discouraged at first thinking like, oh, well, I have this day job or I only have a few hours a week to do music. And it's like, make the most of those few hours a week, but also like, don't kill yourself. There is sacrifice, but there's like real life to be lived as you're sacrificing too. And so even like, doing voiceovers or the different odd jobs I did over the years, like those things are so necessary and there's no shame in doing them. It's just a matter of over time starting to swing from, okay, maybe 80% of my time is my day job and 20% is music. And it's just like slowly like nudging that like further and further. Where it's like, okay, now 20% of my time is like voiceover and these odd jobs and the rest is music and passion and like I'm making money from that. So it's a like continual process of just like nudging your life in that direction.
Oh yeah, for sure. Totally agree. I didn't know, I feel like a lot of your first part of your story is kind of more of like a traditional route of like making it in music. It's like, hey, let's hire a manager. Like we have to go and be like present in Nashville all the time. And like, I think times have definitely changed and there's definitely a lot of other routes and avenues to do well. But I'd be curious, like, what is something that you wish you would have started a lot sooner? Or maybe something you wish you hadn't have done that like you feel like, you know, derailed your progress and you would have put the time elsewhere. Yeah.
I'm kind of one of those people that's like, I wouldn't change a thing because it's like it all it
worked out.
But also I think this also may be kind of a cop-out answer, but I think I would just like stress less about like, you know, where things were going and what was going to happen because there are so many highs and lows and like the industry has just changed so much over the years. So like at the time that I was doing the things I was doing, I think they were smart choices, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
But as the industry has changed, I've like had to adapt and grow. And so I think just like really, okay, here's one thing I would say. So I kind of briefly touched on this, but like in middle school, I was like bullied a little bit and I kind of felt isolated, like as a young, like teenager, you know, in my adult life, really from like probably 19 on, I started having more community and I had friends, you know, but like I did feel like very much like kind of, I was over here doing music, like the weird one that like people just didn't understand. And I wanted to connect and relate with people, but I just didn't like know how to necessarily do that because I just felt like I was just on this other path. Yeah. And so I did a lot of things on my own, even musically. It's just like me and my mom, we're our little team. And that has been such a blessing. But I think in the last several years, I have realized the benefit of being like, I am not great at this. Let me bring somebody in to help me, you know, or let me ask this friend, or let me like build a team around me that, you know, can help me do things that I'm not great at, you know, and not even just that I'm not great at, but that, you know, can add perspective and insight and life to my journey that I don't have to be on my own all the time. Yeah. And a lot of it still is just me in my room working away. And so it can still feel like that sometimes. But I would say a big part of my early career felt very like isolated. And in these latter years, I've been a lot more willing and mindful of like having people around me that can support me and that I can support and doing this thing together rather than being like, okay, here's me just like burning myself on both ends and trying to do it all myself and like crying.
You can't do it all. And it's like people want to be like their own graphic designer. They want to do all their own marketing. They want to do all their production. Speaking of that, how describe your team right now? Like, so right now you have a lot more connections. I feel like I'm on your team, Kylie.
Yes, you are.
I don't know if you would say I'm on your team, but I feel like I'm on your team.
The amount of times I text you random questions and you answer, you're absolutely on my team.
We'll take it. So why don't you just like give us like a quick overview of like, who do you have in your life and what roles do they play? Yeah. Because I think people would be shocked at like maybe the things you still do, but also the things you don't do.
Yeah. So I'll start with the things that I still do on a consistent basis because again, even as you build a team, as an independent artist, and even just like, I feel like from people I've heard who then go on to be on labels or this or that or whatever path they take, there's still just, you never outgrow having to do a lot of things on your own. Like it just genuinely is hard work. Any dream that you care about, you're the person who cares about it most. So like there's just always going to be things you have to do and that you get to do. So things I do on a consistent basis is like I actually do design all of my own like cover art, you know, fun stuff like that. Like I, you know, write the songs, obviously. I spend hours practicing, doing all of that. I am a part of the booking of shows and things. I, you know, emailing, scheduling, setting up this, setting up that. Like there's just a lot of day-to-day stuff that like I do on a consistent basis. Team wise, like, so my mom is still very much a part of my team. She does a lot of like business administration side of things. Cause oh my gosh, that's a whole other long conversation. Like the financial and just business and royalties and this and that and all the other, like it's something you got to navigate when you're a music artist. And there's a lot to be learned in that realm. And so over all of my journey, I have, you know, made blunders and had to correct and it's like constantly learning, but she has a great mind for things like that. And so she helps me with that type of stuff. She also is a part of booking and like is the contact that like, if people come to me directly for booking and things as well, but oftentimes I'll like send them to her and she manages a lot of that scheduling and pay and all of that and checks in with me like, are you available this date? You know? And so we do have like kind of a manager partnership situation going on that again we've just had for a really long time and she's great at what she does. She's also in the role of being my best friend, so like she's the one that I'm like, I think I want to do this and that and the other, and I'm like brainstorming like just life she's giving with her, you know, she's just like the person beside me that I'm like, okay, what do you think about this, you know? So she is a huge part of my life for sure in music and personal. Photographers and videographers, you know, are a huge part of the team. Like my sister-in-law does almost all of my photos for my covers. I have used other people throughout the years, but she is now my sister-in-law. She used to not be. And so we worked together even before her and my brother got married and everything and got together. And so she's just incredibly talented and she is very flexible, like, you know, with doing all my crazy ideas basically. So love working with her, but there's tons of photographers that I've like met and used in different capacities over the years. And so making music has such a creative, you know, visual element to it as well. So those are people that I need. Videographers, same thing. Like having a few photographers and a few videographers that depending on the show, depending on the event, you can like the
right fit,
you
the right
can
schedule.
Call or text and be like, are you available? If that person's not okay, is this other person available? That fits your aesthetic and style. So those are definitely a part of the team. Music licensing, like I said, is, you know, the sync licensing. I have a representative there who, you know, is just pitching my songs and doing that side of things for me on a monthly basis. Gosh, who else? Bandmates, you know, because I play keys and I sing and I play a little bit of guitar and I do play a lot of shows solo, but there's a lot of shows I like to play as a duo or a trio or with a band, you know? So it's like you literally cannot do all that on your own. And so over the years have had, you know, lots of great bandmates come and go and just depending on the season. And so, that is a fun thing to navigate. So bandmates, those are definitely a part of the team. And again, similarly, kind of having a few of each instrument in your pocket because again, someone might not be available this date and it's like, well, dang, I still need somebody. So, okay, let me text this person. So those guys, mix, master, producing, all that, you know, so there's even like the difference between like having different producers, you know, for different things. And so that has, you know, changed throughout the years too. Like I said, there was someone I worked with for 10 years and did a lot with them. But then as I started co-writing with different people, found other producers and people I enjoy working with. And so having a team really of like, okay, there's like a handful of producers that I love working with and I'm going to do this project with this person because that feels like the right fit. And then similarly on the back end, mixing and mastering engineers. Sometimes those are different people. Sometimes they're the same. As of right now, it's you. And it's been awesome.
Here for it.
Yes. If you guys have listened to It's Been a Year, like lots of different stuff in the last few years, David has mixed or mastered or one or the other, both. And so that side of things is very important. Trying to think, I mean, songwriters, you know, other people that you're writing with. I do write a lot of my music on my own, but in the last few years, especially, I've written with friends and other people just that I know, you know, so there's those people. I'm trying to think. There's probably more, but that's like a good general, I guess, starting point of team around me.
No, that's awesome.
Can I'll interrupt here.
Yeah.
So, because I feel like some people might hear all of that and all that's amazing and they might internalize that as, all right, I got to like find a team. I got to like find a music producer. I got to find da-da-da-da-da and make sure they form a group of people around them in particular. And I think that might not be the right route to go. But the way you went about it was awesome in that, like, as you were journeying, as you were writing, as you were doing, it's a more natural thing, an organic thing where you're just working really hard and people come alongside of you that are just bought into your vision.
Yeah.
And you just kind of talk about the kind of person that, like, it might be helpful to be in order to organically make those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, to add to what you say, most all of those people that are in my life now have come through two different ways. One, just like natural relationships and connection that I've made as I've been out playing shows or out just doing the thing or making friends. And it's like, oh, hey, like I do this. And oh, cool, I didn't even know that. Let's connect, you know? So just very natural occurrences as life progresses. But then also there have been times like recently where I'm like, I need a new guitar player. And so it's like, I'm like hitting people up, like, do you know somebody? Do you know? And so there's, I think, a combination of like life just taking its course and you finding those people. And honestly, if you're a Christian, like praying for those people, because like that is in my prayer list. Like, God, like I need a guitar player. Like, please send someone my way, you know? And then also paired with like texting the people you do know that are maybe in the same world, being like, hey, I'm like looking for a producer. I don't know any producers. Do you know somebody? You know?
My man Kamo. That's what I would recommend every time.
Yes. So I think like, on the one hand, if there's somebody listening to this and you're like, I don't know any of those types of people, then it's like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with like seeking them out. But then also it's like, as you do take steps in the direction of your artistry, you'll most likely find like-minded people in these spaces, even just locally, like going to shows and like going up to artists and being like, hey, loved your set. Like, I'm also an artist. Would you want to write sometime? You know, like there's so many different ways to build those teams. And it doesn't have to be like, okay, let me sit down and build this whole group of people around me. It's just like life taking its course. And then if you need a specific thing, like a producer or a guitar player, like making use of the resources around you and kind of just asking, like, you guys know anybody? So that's that. So I think the second part of what you were asking was about like being the type of person that the team can come around, or can you unpack that a little bit just so I can make sure I answer correctly?
The kind of person that somebody would want to connect with after meeting them. So I'm really kind of getting at this idea that like sometimes people will make connections with someone and they're not really interested in getting to know you as a person so much as they're just trying to get a service out of you. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. Yes. So something early on that was like kind of told to me, and I think it's true, is like, are you just like a good hang? You know, like, are you kind? Are you, you know, and that does not, a good hang is not a specific personality type. Like that doesn't mean you have to be something that you're not. It means like, are you kind? Are you genuine? Are you actually curious and interested in this other person and not just what you can get from them? Because I think, there is possibility for things to become very transactional, and also in pursuit of a dream. I think hopefully unintentionally people can like start to just be like, I need this, I need that, you know, and really trying to maybe build this team, but lacking the just open-heartedness of being like, okay, yes, I'm building a dream, but like these are real people and this is my real life, and it's not just this transaction. Like we're not robots. It's not like a plug and play thing. And so I think holistically, just coming back to even in anything in life, it's like what is the heart's motivation there? Like what is your motivation in conversing with people, and how are you treating them? And so like just always having a mindset of something that I try to remind myself of is like, rather than like what can I get, what can I give, you know? And like rather than what can I gain from this experience, like what can I give even to this interaction and this experience? And in turn, you are going to gain so much. You're going to gain experience and connections and maybe followers or whatever it's, you know, but it's like, I have some shows coming up, and it's so easy as you climb in a career or whatever, which I hate that, that like to start to creep up and feel like, okay, well, if I don't get this many followers after playing this show, then was it a success? And it's like, that's just absolutely like, throw that out the door, you know? It's like, did you show up? Did you give your best? Did somebody get encouraged by a song or a story that you shared? Like at the end of the day, and again, as Christians, like that is what matters. Like, and as you journey through life and these relationships authentically with kindness, honoring the other people, then like God is going to bring the right people into your life, and they're going to be these natural, beautiful connections that are equally honoring, you know? And so I think just keeping honoring others at the forefront and keeping like kindness and like having fun too is like a great way to go about
That's really well
making
said.
those connections.
And like, you're right. There's like nuance to this. Like there are certain scenarios where you will have to reach out to a guitarist like a day before and be like, I need your help. And then most of the time as you're going about your life and engaging with new people on a given day, it's better to just take interest in them as a person first. So that was really well said.
Yeah.
The community too, when you have a group of people that are chasing after their dreams, I feel like there's a lot of like just mutual understanding of like, I want to support other people that are doing the same thing. Like, that's how I feel like when I see people that I know that are like sharing their music, I'm like, I want to like and support this because I know how much it means for them because it means a lot for me.
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it too. It's also interesting, like you said, going out to places. I feel like we're entering into like a generation where a lot of people think that they can just make music at home, put it up and get a ton of streams and be like, I made it.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're losing a little bit of that actually going out and like being with other people and doing shows and performing, which I just think is interesting. Like, I don't know how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you get on the right playlist and start getting some like digital followers, it's just different than having like real followers and then also meeting people when you're playing shows and that.
Well, and I think it comes down to what people's personal goals are, because like some people, they're like, I don't ever want to play a show in person,
Very true,
and I don't want to go interact with people, and I just want to like make my music in my home, and I want to post it, and that's enough for me, and that makes me happy, and that's how they want to connect with the world. Like for some people, that satisfies them. For me, I crave the like in-person connection, and like live shows have always been one of my favorite parts of the entire music experience. And so I think it just does depend on what you want to do and are drawn to. And then even like if you're, say, more drawn to one specific thing or both, like maybe just for fun, like going out of your comfort zone and trying something else to see like, okay, I think like I just prefer to be at home, but like let me go to a show, let me set up a show with my friends and like see what that experience is like, just to have it, because it is a whole other side of the music experience that I think is really sweet and beautiful and fun.
You have to be honest like with yourself. I think that's what I get the impression from people is they'll say like, oh, I just want to like write for like my friends and family. But it's like, I think you want more than that. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you do want more than that, you should take like maybe some different steps. If that makes sense. So I just think there's a lot of power in being honest with like what you're actually aiming for and just saying it. And just, it's okay if it doesn't happen.
Right.
Like you can still chase after that goal. If you do want to be an artist, you do want to play shows and all that.
It's funny you said that, because that similarly to like I was talking about how I was kind of asking God, what's the new dream? Like what's like, is it the same old dream, or like what does that look like? Because I found myself doing all these different things and I was like, okay, I'm not like unhappy, but I'm not like thriving. And I'm like, God, what is the thing where I feel the most alive? And it consistently came back to like shows and sharing stories and songs like of what God has done in my life in both worship settings and original music settings. And so when he like kind of revealed that to me again, I was like, okay, then I'm going to have to take some different steps like that I've been doing this last year. Like I'm doing too many things that are taking me away from these main purposes and joys in my life. So I had to like cut some things out, shift my focus like back in that direction, and like take different steps towards that, and be honest with myself that like, I do want to tour. I do want to do these things. And it can feel like self-protection to be like, no, like I'm content to just do this. And on one side of the coin, like in general, I am truly content with whatever God's plans are for my life. And I think that's an important like reality to like have within yourself of like, God, whatever you have for me, I am okay with that. I'm overjoyed with that. But here's some like real things that I would just like love to do.
You're not going to be like crushed and disappointed if it doesn't happen, but you're like, I really want this.
It's like, and I think God welcomes that kind of honesty and boldness, and that like just being like, hey, like I would love to like headline a tour across the country, God, and have hundreds of people come out and sing my songs because I want to like bless your name. I want to have fun playing music, and I want to do things that glorify you like for fun. Like that would be sick, you know? But knowing like, okay, again, whatever path my life takes, like it is in God's plans in his hands, but I'm not going to deny that that's something I want. Okay,
so I checked on Spotify today.
Okay.
Your song, Under the Sun, has 2 million streams on Spotify.
Pew, pew, pew,
I don't
pew.
even know. I don't even know how many it has on Apple Music and other sources. So well over 2 million streams. But I also think there are a lot of people that put out their music and they're not getting that kind of traction right now. Maybe they just started. Maybe they do this for a while.
Yeah.
What kind of like encouragement would you give that person? Because you're living large. You're feeling great about it. I mean, that's pretty awesome. 2 million, that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the encouragement on the one hand is that like I didn't do anything to get that. I think people think like
they want a secret formula.
Yeah, I think like people want. I want to be like, okay, if I do this and this, it equals this. In the music industry, that's just you're never gonna have that. Like, I mean, that's been my experience, anyways. Is that like it's not a like A plus B equals C thing, because you could put in all the promotion, all the hours, all the time, and get 1,000 streams, and that's that, you know, and. It's just there's no this equals that formula. And so like with Under the Sun, specifically the story of that song, I wrote that song with these two people in Nashville that I love, Jacob and Sita Steele. And I remember we originally wrote that for sync licensing. I originally went in thinking like, oh, this isn't a song for me. Yep. And then I like heard the like demo back and I was like, wait, this is literally my life. Like this is so me. And it like represents everything I'm doing in my life right now. And I was like, I want to release this like as an artist. So I go to release a song and still I thought like, I don't know if it's that good, like, but it's fun and I'm just going to do it and like, whatever. Like it was not one of my favorite songs. I just thought it was fun. I was trying something new. And then the first month, I think it maybe got a couple thousand streams. And then like over the next few months, it ended up getting to like 35,000 streams. And it sat there for like a little while. And then like over the course of really, I think it was 3 years, it ended up going to 1 million. And then this last year, it's like jumped to 2 million. Yeah. And a big part of that was, I believe, it got picked up with like Instagram Reels, like their audio sound. Yeah. And so all of a sudden I was seeing like on Instagram Reels that like all like thousands of people were making their little videos with Under the Sun in there. So I don't know if that's the only reason or whatever, but that was, I think, a big thing that played into it. And people
but you
were
didn't
like,
make it for Instagram Reels. I feel like that might be something people try to manipulate of like, oh, if I just get people to put my song in Reels. Yeah. I didn't make it with any intention except to like write it for a movie actually. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, I actually like this song, released it as myself and felt kind of insecure about it because I was like, I don't know how my voice sounds. Like it's a little different than what I've done before. And then it just like took on a life of its own. And then there's other songs that I've felt very like confidently about and they still to this day have 2,000 streams. Yeah. You know? And so I think like if there's any encouragement to be had, it's just like it could be both encouraging or discouraging that like there's just no one size fits all. There's no way to guarantee that you're gonna get 2 million streams. Still to this day, I could release a song and it have a couple hundred streams, you know? Yeah. And so it's just a matter of coming back to making music that you love and that you enjoy and then like truly just letting the outcome be what the outcome is and doing all you can to best support that song. But knowing even if you do everything you can to best support that song, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to blow up or go viral or whatever, but maybe it will. Yeah. You know, and it's like just have fun and just keep making music and don't be afraid. And especially I feel like people are starting out, which even though I've been doing this a long time, I don't consider myself starting out, but I do in comparison to, you know, other artists that are further along the road. I still feel like there's such a freedom to just like try things and release music and like don't get too in your head of like, oh, well, like that song didn't work, so I need to like change everything I'm doing and try something different. It's like, no, just like release music that you genuinely love so that whether it has 1 million streams or 5, you know, I love this song. Yeah. And like hopefully someone else will catch on to it. But if not, like I've had a blast making it and I have a blast listening to it. Yeah. Like people will ask me if I listen to my own music and I'm like, yes. Yeah. Because I like my music and I write it and release it because I enjoy it. Yeah. That's Terry Crews from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He watches all his episodes again because he's like, I think I'm hilarious. So.
That's so funny. You're your target audience.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and I'm not sitting over here every day jamming to my songs, but it's like every now and then it's like, I like the music I make. I have fun making it and I enjoy when I can release it into the world. Yeah. And that is, I think at the baseline, that does kind of have to be enough. And then you stack all your hopes and dreams for it on top of that. But it's like if you're not loving it and you're like putting it out to try and become this viral thing, you're always going to be disappointed because you just never know.
People super need to hear that. And like, I think there are a lot of voices, the social media gurus on Instagram and like YouTube, trying to say if you do X, Y, and Z, it will work. And if it didn't work, you didn't do everything I told you to do. It's like, whoa, like the arrogance. No, there's a lot to be said. Like, case in point, like you could do the whole promotion thing and like line up all the days and hit all the marks, and a freaking natural disaster could happen on the day of your release, and then there's no way your song's gonna get listened to, and that wasn't your fault. That had nothing to do with anything you did. So that was really well said. I think people needed to hear that, whether they were encouraged or discouraged.
And I think just quickly to add on, like, again, we write music for ourselves and our enjoyment and our processing and our healing, but we also as artists release it so that others can be impacted by it. And even if there's one person like that's impacted by it, I know some people will hear that and be like, again, that's a cop out. You don't really just want one person to hear it. But it's like, again, think of Jesus, like the 99 for the one. Like if there's one person that their life is truly like either just blessed with a moment of joy because they heard that song and they like bopped around in their car for a minute, or if they like heard a really emotional song you wrote and it like just, they were like, wow, like that just, I needed that for this moment. Like in eternity, those are the things that matter. And you'll never know the scope of, even if you have, say, 1,000 streams, you'll never know the scope of like what those 1,000 moments looked like for people, you know? And that does matter. It does. I think it does.
Yep. Also, streams do not equal like a good song.
Yeah.
I do think if you get a lot of streams, it does show that you've connected at least with people, but there's a lot of songs that are amazing, beautiful, inspiring, and they don't have any streams.
Yeah.
And it's not because the song's not great.
And there are a lot of really trashy songs that have a lot of streams.
There are. I will say people did connect with it somehow.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, it is very interesting. We can try to change things based on that. And I like what you're saying. It's like, no, just stick to what you love and what you think, and don't worry about like figuring out the formula and like, this one didn't work and I use this producer. That means I'm not going to use that producer ever again because it didn't get streams. It's like, no, did you love the song?
Right.
Yes. Then use the producer again.
And in addition to did you love it, was it high quality? Because I do think it's very easy to be like, oh, just love it. But it's like quality does matter. Like if you have a good mix or a good master, it does matter. And that can not make or break in terms of whether people listen to it or not, but whether like you can stand and be like, this was a great song, you know? And so I think there is a matter of freedom and loving your music, but like shooting for excellence and quality in the production of it, because that will, even if you have like a fantastic song and the bare bones of it, but then like the quality of the production is maybe not there, it could limit the enjoyment of the song for others. Yeah.
I think, like, speaking of quality, it's not just like this was good or this was bad. There's like a appropriateness of it.
Yeah.
Because there's some mixes that I don't think are good.
Right.
But they work for that genre or that artist really well.
It's subjective.
Yeah, it's very subjective, and that's okay too. So I think it's like the appropriate quality for what you're doing. So it's like if you're trying to put out pop music and you've written it in a pop way, instruments are in a pop way, it's like the quality of the production has to fit and match that.
And I think that is something that people can like, again, if you're kind of figuring out your vein and your genre, then it's like, it can be good, not to compare in a negative woe is me way, but to compare like the quality and the sounds that are happening in that same space of the music you're wanting to make. Because it's like, don't compare your pop song to this country song. It's like, there's no, that's just not helpful.
Or
but
like
it's like
a Billie Eilish song is like historically not a great mix for pop music, but it works for that indie feel really well. And she's created something that now
like take notes from what's working and learn and apply it in the unique way you're creating your sound. You know? I don't know. Cool.
Okay, before we go, quick. You could give 3 practical next steps for a songwriter.
Is the goal of the song? What is the goal of the songwriter?
They just want to get their music out there. I mean, they wouldn't be upset if it kind of helped pay the bills a little bit, or at least pay for more music. I feel like the biggest thing here is I just want my music to help support itself. Is the biggest thing here. But like 3 practical next steps.
Okay. So I will say, if you don't have a community of maybe other writers or people that are doing this as well, I would say start to like try and find those people.
Awesome. Yeah.
Just because it can feel like a really confusing space to be in if you're the only one and you don't have these people to ask questions to of like, hey, what are you doing? What's working for you? Or what, this and that. So I think just from an educational and support standpoint, like having other people around you who are doing a somewhat similar thing, maybe farther along, maybe the same place as you, honestly, some of both, like, I do think that is helpful because when you come up against something, you're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, oh, my friend has done this before. Let me ask them. So again, I think just having people that you can converse and ask these questions to, like, again, I text David all the time. And I'm like, what should I do about this? Like just having people and support in the same field, I think is helpful. Building a community. I would say making sure that you are putting yourself in spaces where, and again, well, let me revise that. The way that I feel like, again, you can make money as a songwriter, there's like different avenues to do that, right? So I think maybe starting to get some clarity of like what you want to chase down.
What options?
What options there are,
Yeah.
because, there's writing for yourself as an artist and releasing your own music. There's writing for other artists. There's writing for television and film. There's writing for a church. There's just like, there's writing jingles. I mean, there's genuinely like in the scope of songwriting and making a living from songwriting, there are lots of different options. I wouldn't say that any one of those is easier than the next, but there's just different ways you could go about it. And so like there are such things as publishing deals, sync licensing deals, which is just genuinely a way that songwriters make a living. And so I think starting to maybe research what those options are, if you don't know what the different options are, even just the ones I just listed, looking those up and being like, what does that actually look like? And I think being an artist, you can do from wherever you're located. And I think being a songwriter, technically you could too, but you may have to go to some places like Nashville or wherever if you want to do the more publishing side of things.
I think like a more traditional
traditional route. If you want to do like that side of things, and I do still think there is some value to building relationships with people who are on publishing deals and these things and writing, getting in co-writing rooms. So again, I think it really comes down to narrowing down like what is your passion, what is your focus, what maybe for the next year do you want to like chase down in songwriting. So I guess that could be step 2. Like discovering your options and seeing like what would it take to get to that option for me, and making whatever steps or changes you might need to make to do that. And then it's kind of annoying when people say this, but like writing, like even as myself, like I go through seasons where I am writing more or writing less, but I don't think it's like this striving, like write a song every day. Like there's similar to what Kamo was saying, like there's these people online who'd be like, if you do this every day, then like you're going to be the best songwriter ever. I personally don't subscribe to that. I don't think you have to write every day to be a great songwriter or you're not a songwriter. Like I just don't think that's true. I also don't necessarily think that's realistic. Like there's just life, like, and also sometimes you have to live some life to write about things, you know? And so it's like, if you're just like stressing yourself out, like, I gotta write, then it's like, I feel like, that's maybe not the best approach. I think having a consistent-ish mindset about it, where it's like, I'm a writer, I need to be writing, but like, I also need to live to have things to write about. So just making sure it is a quote unquote regular part of your life. Like if this is something you want to be doing, something you love, then like spend time doing that thing, and what that looks like for you, whether it is daily or weekly or monthly, whatever it is for you right now, like making that priority to do that, And because I just think it's just proven that when you spend time doing something, you get better at it and you learn new things and you expand, So it's like continuing to hone your craft, because at the end of the day, in order to do anything like with music, like you have to be good at what you do. And that's not in some like harsh way. It's just like it all comes back to the music, comes back to the original thing that you're doing. And it's like, are you loving it? Are you doing it? Are you like continuing to expand and grow in that way? So just writing, but not in this weird forceful way. Just like let it be a real part of your life if this is a real thing you want to do.
I'll make a strong statement. I feel like if you don't write naturally, you probably don't really love it.
Fair enough.
You know, so it's like the only time you sit down to write is because you want an album to share with people. It's like, I don't know if you really love writing. And, you know, that'd be my pushback for some churches too that are like, we have to write songs. It's like, well, if your people aren't already writing songs, it feels like we're just forcing this idea.
Yeah.
It should be a passion. And if it's not a passion, that's okay.
Right.
But it's going to be really hard to go far if it's not a passion.
And I think Carrie.
I was going to say, that's part of your story.
Yeah.
Like you've been wanting to write music since you were
I can't.
8 years old.
No matter how long I try to stay away, I can't. Like, and that's what I was gonna say is like, if it's in you, it's in you, and you can cultivate what's in you and expand upon it. But it's like either you love it, but also I will say, even as you love it, sometimes there are seasons where it's more difficult to do, or you don't love it because you're burnt out, you're stressed, or this is happening in your life and you're just not writing. Like there have been so many seasons where it's like, it'll be a whole month or 2 months. And I'm like, I haven't written a thing because I'm just like, honestly, actually I write more when I am going through it. So usually I'm like really happy and busy and then I'm like not writing. And then when I'm like going through it, I'm like in my bedroom.
Emotionally compromised.
You know? But like you said, I think it's very true that like when it's in you, it's not just for others. It's just, you're just writing because you're processing and you're living and you love it, you know? Yeah, I would agree.
For sure. Kylie, where do people follow you at?
I'm on Instagram at Kylie Odetta, Spotify, Kylie Odetta. I have a website, Facebook, you know, all the things.
They can hire you to do live shows, birthday parties, whatever they want. Be great.
Yeah.
And then you have a song coming out next month, Grown, in March.
Yes.
And then more on the way.
Yeah, it's Grown is the first single of a 4-song EP that is titled Grown.
Yep.
The other songs are Ache, Real Love, and Grace. And those are coming out this spring. I'm very excited about that project. And I've always got more cooking, so there's more on the way after that. But
she's always cooking.
Yeah. I've heard all 4 of those songs, plus the other ones you're mentioning. So they're going to be awesome.
Thanks.
People will be very lucky if they'll be blessed if they go and listen. So,
well.
Anyways, thank you so much for being on the podcast, for being our first ever interview.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, we'll do another one later and just kind of come back to where you are.
Cool.
So.
Can't wait.
Yes.
Tweet.
Tweet.